Hello everyone, today we are looking at a touch alarm circuit. In the previous circuit of the disconnection alarm, we learned about the working principle of the one-way controllable gauge and its basic usage. In this circuit, we still use the controllable gauge as a switching element through another triggering method. Let's briefly understand the amplification effect of the triode. First, let's take a look at the composition of this circuit. This circuit mainly consists of a battery pack, an active wind regulator, a one-way controllable gauge, a power switch, a resistor R, and 3 NPN-type triodes. In front of the first triode, there is a trigger electrode here, which is the touch electrode. Let's take a look at the working process of this circuit. When the power switch S is closed, the battery pack is connected in series with the active wind sensor through the controllable gauge. When the human body, such as a finger, comes into contact with the touch electrode, then these all three-stage tubes are in a cut-off state, so the controllable gate, that is, the control pole, remains cut off because the trigger voltage is not obtained. At this time, the wind meter will not issue an audible alarm. When the human body's fingers touch this electrode, there are some clutter signals in the human body. It will enter this triode through the terminal of the triode for amplification. The amplified signal will be output through the emitter stage of the triode. Then the signal output of the first triode will enter the second triode and be amplified by the second triode. After this signal is output, it will pass through the third triode. Then the final signal is output by the emitter stage of the third three-stage tube. Since the signal in the human body is outputted by the amplified signal of this three-stage tube, the signal output is relatively weak, so it cannot directly trigger the kissable turtle. So this weak signal has passed through three-stage tubes. After the composite amplification of the stage tube, the signal at this point will reach the triggering condition of the kissable turtle and reach its lowest trigger voltage. At this time, the kissable turtle will be triggered and become a conductive state. Then the fateful wind inscription device will be powered and sound an alarm. Due to the one-way kissable turtle, it has a self-locking function, which means that it will maintain a conductive state after triggering. At this time, even if the human body moves away from the trigger electrode and touches the electrode, the kissable turtle will not become a cut-off state. Only when the power switch S is turned off will the kissable turtle be reset. The conduction state changes to the cut-off state. At this time, when the signal of the human body is detected again, it will be triggered again. Then the wind inscription device will sound an alarm again. Now, let's simply demonstrate this working process through a physical object. Among the physical object S, this one is the battery pack. It is a 4.2 volt lithium battery. The full charge voltage is 4.2 volts. This one is an active wind meter. This one has a built-in sound source. When it is powered on, it will sound an alarm. This one is the power switch. This one is the resistor R. So here it is. 4 side by side. The top one is the one-way kissable turtle, which is this one. So these three are the three triodes. The longest pin here is the first triode machine. As a touch electrode, first of all, let's take a look at the electrodes of this triode. This triode. What about the electrodes of the stage tube? This triode tube and the kissing turtle spin order. So what about this triode tube and the kissing turtle? So in this circuit, its packaging form is exactly the same. It is A292 package. So the model of this NPN triode tube is the more commonly used 8050. Of course, you can use other models, such as the earlier and more commonly used models such as 9014. These are all acceptable. So the model of this kissable turtle is MCR 100-6. This is a one-way kissable turtle. What about the three-stage tube with 3 electrodes? So this model is like this dot on the front facing the model. The 3 electrodes from left to right are the emission level E. The middle is the machine level B. The far right is its electrode level C. Then the kissing turtle is also facing this model. The middle is the control level, which is the gate level G. Then on the far right is the amplifier level A. Soon the far left, this is K, which is its sound level. Then on the far right, this is A. So in this circuit, the diode-like model in the middle is A. Its booster level is above, and below it is K. Then the long one in the middle is its control level, which is the gate level G, so these 3-stage tubes. The 3-stage tubes are connected to the positive stage of the power supply, which is the sound corner. The polarity levels of the 3-stage tubes are connected. So what about this? The transmitting stage of the first 3-stage tube is the sound corner on the left that is connected to the machine stage of the second triode. So the transmitting stage of the second triode is the sound corner that is connected to the machine stage of the third triode. The transmitting stage of the third triode is the one on the far left that is connected to the door level of the controllable cabinet, which is the control level. First, we turn on the power switch. At this time, because there is no contact if you touch the electric level, then the wind chime will not make a sound at this time. So at this time, I will touch the front one. Then at this time, after touching the middle motor, the wind chime will continue to sound the alarm. Even if the human body turns on the motor, the wind chime will sound. The alarm will continue to sound, so the controllable cabinet will be reset only when the power switch is turned off. Because what I am using below is an anti-static board. This board has strong shielding, so there will be some deviation in touch sensitivity. Let's demonstrate again by turning the power switch on and then touching the motor. At this time, the controllable cabinet will become conductive, the wind horn will make a sound, and the wind horn will sound an alarm. So this circuit is triggered by the touch of a human body in front of the first 3-stage tube. In fact, we can trigger this in other ways. For example, in a controllable cabinet, connect a piezoelectric ceramic piece to the ground here, which is the wind chime in the birthday card. The wind chime is because it is made of piezoelectric ceramics. When power is applied, the piezoelectric ceramics will vibrate. When a sound is emitted, in turn, when exposed to vibration, the piezoelectric ceramic will also emit a voltage, but this voltage is very weak. The amplification of the triode will also trigger the controllable cabinet to conduct conduction. In the same place, a mnemonic body can be used. Microphone. What about the mnemonic microphone? Because it uses a field effect tube as the component for picking up sound, its sensitivity is higher than that of the piezoelectric ceramic chip. So this place is also connected to a mnemonic microphone. In this way, there is no need to tap the sound at close range. The sound from this long distance can trigger this circuit. Of course, there will be some differences in the connection of the mnemonic microphone because the piezoelectric ceramic itself can emit voltage, so this is a passive device, but the mnemonic microphone needs to be powered before it can be used. So if it is directly connected to the body like this, it will not work. So if you use a mnemonic microphone, you need to add a resistor to this point. Then this is the positive terminal of the battery, and add it to the mnemonic microphone through the resistor. Then give this mnemonic. The body microphone provides a bias voltage. At this time, the mnemonic microphone will work. This circuit just demonstrates the basic amplification effect of the triode. So if this circuit is actually used, because of the amplification of these three triodes, this circuit a large multiple will be relatively high, so it can be triggered by human touch. However, when the clutter in the environment reaches a certain level, such as turning on a light or turning on a processing appliance, it will also cause a false trigger of the circuit. Therefore, the electrode cannot be too far away from the triode. That is to say, try not to use the battery in the middle. You can only use the longer wire as close to it as possible. If the touch electrode of the triode needs to be extended, you need to use a shielded wire. In other words, the touch electrode is connected through the shielded wire. Surrounded by the negative electrode to prevent the external signal from falsely triggering it, so this circuit is just a demonstration circuit. In actual use, there will be some components such as capacitors to prevent false triggering caused by the external environment. Likewise, many electrical appliances in life, such as voice-controlled lights in the corridor, including some that are triggered by voice control, will use this 3D tube as an amplification. Of course, the 3D tube is only used as a basic amplification component, so it has higher power and higher inspiration. Large circuits will use some composite transistors, so the basic components are all transistors, such as 3D tubes or field effect transistors. Both of these transistors have an amplification function. In the same way, they have a switching function. 3D tubes and field effect transistors can also be used as an electronic non-contact switch, can also be used as a switch like a hearing cabinet. However, its usage conditions and its usage environment will have some differences. We will talk about it in the following videos. So that's the end of today's video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.